Welcome, everybody. We are in our next installment of the Building Savages podcast with my co-host here, Mr.
Yeah,
Evan Perez, sir.
yeah. I'm Evan. What's going on, people? What's going on? What's
in
up? What's
case,
up?
in case we have any new listeners,
Yeah, that's fair.
this is
What's going on,
Coach
people?
Evan here,
Yeah, you can call me EP Evan, whatever. The Savage, the Beast,
Mr.
all that shit.
Simply
Mr.
Savage training
Mr.
here,
Savage. Yeah,
and I
Short King,
am Coach
Mr.
Terrence.
Yeah, Mr. Short King.
Short God.
Short God. Oh
If
shit.
we have any new listeners here, we appreciate you guys stepping in. Make sure you definitely like, subscribe, comment on our YouTube. If you're watching this from YouTube, we're on Spotify. If you're listening from Spotify, make sure you follow the page. Check our Instagram out, Building Savages podcast. Just look it up. It'll come up just like that. So we appreciate everybody that's been checking in for us on all these episodes we're in so far. And it's dope to see how it's all coming together. So thank you for all the feedback. Thank you for all the traction we're getting, and we're happy to have you all a part of this growth process.
Sure, moving and shaking, and it's just again we're ahead in here, but like we only got like four out, and it's just great to see like so many people starting to support us and give us kind of feedback, and like your girlfriend's like dropping like all this like knowledge bomb about everything that we're doing, and it's amazing. It's also one of those things where like I don't remember what we're talking about sometimes. It's like been 3 months. It's like, oh shit, we said that. We're so smart, man. So smart.
But it was funny. She messaged me. She was like, "I didn't know you were a yogi for 3 months." I'm like, "I could have sworn I told you this."
Well, that's how you find out. You find out real quick.
It's been dope, but it's also dope to see what people are taking from the conversations too.
Exactly.
That's what we're doing this for at the end of the day.
Exactly. We're talking to everybody, and some people are going to take some pieces, some people are going to take others. So, and we're also still trying to find like our audience. So I think that's also important of like just building this like this cohesion that we have with each other and this authenticity, and trying to see who picks it up and who doesn't. Because we're not going to be for everybody, but if we can help as many people as we can, that's a big thing for us.
For sure. And it's funny, like we were just talking before the podcast started, like how much of a skill it is to speak.
Oh God, man.
It's not as easy as people think, dude.
Oh my God, man. It's like it's taken us a while. I mean, we're kind of deep into it. We're in the teens right now, and like I think literally the last podcast we had, we were like, damn, we don't know what we're gonna talk about. We're just gonna talk. And that was like the most authentic conversation that we had. Not that we don't have authentic conversation, but like deep, and we were just like spitballing. And that was like a groove that we haven't felt. So like it's really cool to see that and see our growth. So like people that are just watching now at like episode 4, where the fuck we're at, like the tremendous growth that we've had like the last couple of fucking podcasts is gonna be dope. And it's gonna be dope to see the people's reactions from beginning to end or beginning to right now.
We're literally 3 months ahead of what's being published at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's not even funny, like looking at habits that I had earlier in our conversation. Like I didn't realize how many times I would say
Mm-hmm.
And like the pauses in between the speaking and stuff. So today, our I just did it there. Today our chemistry is a lot stronger. The way the conversations flow is a lot more fluent.
Yeah.
And just to see the progression of just how we speak, because we already got good feedback on our chemistry from like the first 4 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So our chemistry is even stronger because we're another 12 episodes ahead of that to see how all of it is coming together. It literally, just like how we said in the beginning, is repetition, it's frequency. Like we have to practice this thing.
Yeah.
Everybody think they could just get in front and have something to say and talk. Like it's difficult. There's a lot that you're trying to find a conversation. I don't know why it's different with a microphone and a camera in front of you, but it just is, so.
Yeah, I think it's that, and like making the conversation interesting, and then dropping. I mean, you don't want to think about constantly dropping information and dropping bombs all the time, but it is one of those things where you only have an hour to have a conversation. So it's really hard to like find the correct words and find the correct meaning and getting your topic through in a way that people understand it. Yeah, I mean, that's the hard part, and that's the thing that we're trying to practice. I mean, like you said, like you say, I say, oh, that's interesting. And I kind of segue all the time. The amount of times I said that interesting, the first one pissed me the fuck off. Like, I was like, Jesus Christ, it can't be that interesting. I'm just fucking I'm just trying to segue. I also say that's awesome a lot. And like, I don't feel like I look like a guy that says awesome that much. And I do. And it's pissing me the fuck off.
You definitely say awesome a
I
lot.
say awesome a lot. And it's just like one of those things where like I just need to have input, and sometimes I just need to shut the fuck up.
And we don't even realize, or people don't even realize you're doing that in conversation because it's in real time.
Exactly.
So you do see things completely. How many people actually speak and then watch themselves back speaking?
No.
So
I
now,
mean,
like, we do this on a weekly basis.
yeah. Have you ever heard yourself speaking? You're like, damn, I sound
I
like
fucking
that.
hate it. Yeah,
I hate it so much. Why does everybody hate the sound of their own voice?
I hate it.
Especially people hate the sound of their own voice, and those people are the ones who talk a lot. So like, I don't understand how that kind of like correlates, but like, how about you just shut the fuck up?
Yeah.
I mean,
Apparently, I have a good podcast voice. That's what some people told me, but like, I hear myself and I'm like, fucking hate the way I sound.
I'm so bad at this. I'm so bad at this. No, I think it's fun, bro. I'm starting to generally enjoy it. I'm looking forward to it. And like we just started having meetings beforehand, because now that we have like the Instagram and like the accounts and stuff like that, we want to make this big. So like now we're talking a little bit 30 minutes before to warm up and start bringing stuff to the table beforehand. And I think that's helping us even more, because like we're like, all right, we're definitely on the same page. Like we definitely know the trajectory we want to take this. And I think it's helping just talking for an extra 30 minutes before we even talk.
Yeah, like and just to kind of go on a little bit on a tangent with us right now in the podcast, because we don't really do this often.
Mhm.
But it's different today, because before we would just jump on and just speak, and then that would be the end of it. But now
Yeah.
today that we have more of a vision with the podcast, we're creating more content. Like there's a system being created behind it today.
Mhm.
There's a path that we're trying to reach with it. We have more of a direction of what we're trying to do with the podcast, and with that comes with more organization, just like with anything else,
Yeah.
so it's just not a matter of let's talk and forget about it and talk and forget about it. It's no, let's push this thing forward, let's create a direction, let's create some intentional goals and some markets, and really figure out what we're trying to do with all of this content that we have, or just in general with the podcast anyway, because
Yeah.
now it's a growing business for us.
Yeah. I mean, this is still a hobby, but this is a hobby that can, I mean, eventually maybe take us places. So this is the stuff that we want to start ingraining now. Because if we can have like the foundation of making sure that we're organized, making sure we know the direction, conversate, having communication always, like it's gonna put us in the right path. And that's the thing that's important, is like ingrain this stuff early and often, and then it's just gonna be easy as like time goes on.
And I love that you brought that up, because a conversation that I have often is how humans need system and organization.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads us right into what I wanted to speak today about, of the lean laws, right?
Yeah.
So everybody wants to lose body fat or has aesthetic goals and they want to lose weight, but no one's creating a system.
Yeah.
So what do your habits look like that are structuring you to be intentional about changing the aesthetics of your body? I actually went a little bit on a rant. It's funny that we're talking about this today. I went a little bit on a story rant this morning. I do that oftentimes in the mornings when I'm up at
Wow.
4 o'clock,
Very,
5 o'clock.
very, very often. You'll hear Terrence ran a lot, but like at 4 a.m., you'll see like
Oh
a
yeah,
big
that's
picture
my
of
time.
the gorilla in the back, and then white lettering.
Yeah,
Like,
that's when you
oh,
know I'm
bro,
about to talk some shit.
this motherfucker got shit to say right now.
And I love that now, because like I branded that. Like when you see that
Exactly.
logo, you know some
Exactly.
shit is about to be said.
Exactly. Like I gotta read this shit real quick. I didn't get today's. Like today has been crazy, but like let's go over it just a little bit
Yeah, so I'll
our
go over
listeners.
it today. What I was referring to today is I said, well, the first thing I said was about how much we learn about our athletes in the first 3 months. So when a new athlete comes to me, I learn a lot about their habits. I learn a lot about their communication skills. I learn a lot about their day-to-day lifestyles, if they're valuing my time, if they're valuing their own time.
Mhm.
And obviously I'm assessing all of my clients as I continue to work with them. But the first 3 months are very, very telling to know what the tone of who I'm working with is going to be like.
Yeah.
So then that kind of led into a conversation of me just saying how I use getting lean as an example, but this kind of works with any goal in terms of like expectations. But if you want to be lean, a lot of these athletes will have these ideas of getting this aesthetic goal for themselves, but they're inconsistent in all the areas that they need to be consistent in.
For
So
sure.
something like their hydration is all over the place, their sleep is all over the place, their meals have no structure, they're inconsistent, they have weekend binges, they don't have any accountability check-ins. So at this point, it's like a hopeless dream,
Mm-hmm. For
you
sure.
know. And what I'm trying to enforce into all of the athletes that I work with, clients, whatever you want to refer to them as, is before we can have the intention of the goal that we want, but you really have to start creating a structure that's consistent that now you can start to adjust as you need to.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to have these conversations if we can't consistently create certain habits so we know what we need to adjust from.
Mm-hmm.
So I see a lot of people that are good around their work schedule, but as soon as their work schedule is gone, they lose all structure of their day. A lot of people, I think, are, for the most part, fairly good on a structure through work because work provides a structure for you.
For
But
sure.
once that leaves, you have to adhere to what your own life structure looks like outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like a lot of people, they might have their, oh, I buy lunch at this time, so I have an idea of what I'm eating for lunch here, and or maybe I bring food to work, whatever, yada yada yada. Everybody says they eat great, whatever that means to them, blah blah blah. But as soon as that structure is gone, now it's a lot of unstructured activity, habits, and behavior that's taking place.
Yeah.
And a lot of that doesn't get accounted for.
Mm-hmm.
So, and to take it a step further, a lot of people don't even know that they're doing it because it's so automatic.
Yeah.
And I heard a good quote yesterday. It's kind of on brand what we're talking about, but a little bit different. And because they were speaking in terms of like motor patterning and like habits. They said it takes someone 500 hours to do a skill unconsciously.
Yeah.
And then it takes someone 25 to 30,000 reps to break a bad motor pattern.
Yeah. It always takes longer to break the motor pattern than just to instill the motor pattern.
So in my brain, like if I just kind of take that same logic and apply that somewhere else, you can be looking at that in terms of how people manage their time, how people do their calories, or how people view food, like their relationship with food. These things are all things that have to be practiced and things that have to be intentionally put forth to.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that was mentioned in the talk that I was listening to, where it was just like, you can't make any change, any lasting change, if you're not intentional in what you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So even in this lifestyle of you wanting to be lean, it's almost like you need to title this phase of your life right now of everything that I'm doing is with the goal of being lean, because now I'm intentional with every single move that I'm doing. My exercising and my routine is with the ideal of being leaner. My eating style is with the idea of being leaner. My daily activity is with the idea of being leaner.
Mm-hmm.
Not anything else. Not balance, not 1 rep max PRs. Like everything that I'm doing has to be with the intention of I'm trying to get lean. And now I know that all my moves moving forward is with this goal in mind.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because like the scheduling thing is can work one or two ways. Because like as we were children, like very scheduled. Like we went to class, we went home, we had sports, and we had this and that. Then we go to college. It's a schedule you make your own. It's interesting that a lot of people find scheduling scary, like outside of work, because they have to. I mean, that's how you get paid, and that's how you make a life, and that's how you do everything else. But once you get off that schedule of work, like you have no consistency anywhere else. And that comes with having priorities or mismatching your priorities and having the lack of intention to do so. But to break those habits and to actually like form that connection with like your intent with your intention of being lean or whatever the fuck you want to do, it's first, I think it's scary to change for a lot of people because they are comfortable where they're at. It's scary to change. It's scary to change your schedule. It is hard to change a habit that's already ingrained to you. And it's also one of those things where people don't really ever look at their own intentional actions. Like they have a hard time actually going back and be like, all right, well, I want to be lean, so I'm gonna do one thing to be lean instead of actually like intentionally formulating a whole thing. Like they just want to jump into it just a little bit, but say like that little bit didn't do anything for them and give up. So they're dipping their toes into something that doesn't fucking that won't really ever work because one thing isn't going to do anything. Like if you just go from like 4,000 to 5,000 steps, it's not going to really do much. But if you form a plan, just like anything else, you form a structure and you form a foundation that is integral to it, it's going to get you to your goals. The problem is that a lot of people have like the life that they envision already, or the life that they're accustomed to, that it becomes hard to, like you said, to break that habit. There needs to be like something like cracking you over the head to be like, all right, I want to do this. But the problem is that the other thing is people are afraid to ask for help to do that. And that's what coaches are for. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be lean. Cool. What are you doing about it? I have no idea. I'm just going to the gym once. I'm eating whatever the fuck I want. Like, nothing's fucking working. All right, this is where you ask for fucking help. I mean, because like at the end of the day, we also have structured our lives to do it. It's not because we live in the gym. There's people who live in the gym still don't work out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not trainers and shit like that that don't do anything. They still eat McDonald's and stuff like that. Like you have to intentionally want to do something to become that somebody that you want to be. So how are you going to do that? You're going to ask for help. You're going to get out of that uncomfortable, like get out of that comfort zone and start making the changes in your life to do that. It's also the thing where like people don't want to change the stuff that they want to do because like people will judge them a certain way. Like it was, we talked about in the other podcast. Like I eat pretty consistently. I'll eat 6 eggs or 7 eggs every morning with egg white, spinach, white rice. And I told somebody this the other day, and they were like, "Be careful of your cholesterol." But like, motherfucker, you just had a whole pie and like 4 beers. I saw you do that on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And like you judging me for eating the calorie intake that I need to eat to actually perform right. So like people are gonna judge you no matter what. Let's be 100% real. Shut the fuck up. Figure out what you want to do, make it a priority, and make sure that your schedule aligns with that. That's all it is. It's hard. I'm not saying that it's easy, but like you have to make the point to actually do it. And that's where
It's simple, but it's difficult.
Yes.
Like the idea of it's all simple things in nature, but where it gets difficult is actually adhering to everything that you set in play.
Adhering
Because
is
now you have and now you have life that comes up, or like you can find excuses with anything. So that's where having structure and having organization allows you to bypass excuses because you have a system.
Exactly.
Like I don't feel like anybody's good enough for an excuse. Anybody can find an excuse if they want to. But when you have a machine that is created for you to get said goal, then excuses at this point just become obstacles.
Yes.
Like something just as simple as, oh, I'm tired today. But your routine is 6 a.m. every day. You go on a 30-minute walk. That's your routine. And this is a habit that you have and it's ingrained to you at this point. So whether you're tired or not, you know what this is meant for in your day-to-day and in your long term of what you're trying to achieve for yourself. And maybe that's just you feeling better about yourself because you know, even when you're tired after that 30-minute walk, you are the most productive at work you ever are compared to when you don't do your 30-minute walk. You know, and I think that's why it's so important that people create this system. And I like what you were speaking on a little earlier, where like to get lean, you was like someone might dip their foot in and do this one thing. And a lot of times, like somebody will think is if I change this one thing, that's going to get me this goal that I want. And it's like there's nothing in the world that works off of one thing.
No.
It's a matter of a combination of things that you put together in your system that allows you to push forward in this goal that you push for yourself.
Yeah.
So, are daily steps good for you? Yeah, in combination with strength training, in combination with making sure your calories are at a certain point, in combination with managing your stress levels, in combination with having a healthy hormone balance. Like, it
Mhm.
sounds like a lot, but it is what it is. Like, at the end of the day, like, that's how this thing is designed to be. If you want to graduate through school, you can't just focus on one subject. You have a bunch of subjects that you have to focus on. You have to
Yeah.
figure out how you're going to get to class. You have to figure out how your scheduling is going to align. And I hate when it comes to fitness goals that people are so quick to just kind of try to find the easiest way possible.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like, why is this any different than anything else?
Mhm.
If
Exactly.
you work so hard in your work life to get this goal and you arrange and you prioritize things to get this goal here, why do you feel like in fitness it only takes two things to be in shape? I just don't understand that logic. That doesn't apply anywhere else in the world. So why would it apply here?
Yeah. It's like those are the people that do half of the stuff. Like
Yeah.
they go to the gym 3 times a week and they eat sort of right. And those are the people you see at the gym that look exactly the same 5 years down the line. Because
Hmm.
they think what they're doing is working, but yet it's just a bare minimum. If you want to go ahead and you want to get to where you need to be, you need to implement the stuff that works and you need to trial and error. And I think that's also the thing too, is like you can do all 5 things. Let's just say all 5 things or you do all 5 things consistently and then something comes up or whatever like that. And like one of those things have to knock down, and another thing knocks down, and another thing knocks down. How are you going to adjust? A lot of people aren't adaptable to change the things on the fly. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't have the systems in place to be like, all right, well, I got a new job. Let's just say I can't meal prep on Sunday anymore. When the fuck am I gonna do it? Oh, I guess I'm not gonna do it anymore because it's
Mm.
just too hard to figure it out my schedule because I'm going to be too busy at work. Or it's the same thing with like, I used to go to the gym 4 times a week. I got a new job. Like I couldn't do it. Or like, again, I don't have a child, but like, I understand how hard having kids is, but it's also one of those things where like, you want to make sure that your child sees you doing something that you want them to do. You want them to be physically fit. And there was a study or something like that I saw the other day that like mothers who work out, their children are more inclined to do the same thing. It's not the fathers, it's the mothers. So like
Mm.
if you're active from the get, I mean, it makes it easier to like as the kid sees it, they understand and they want to join you or whatever like that, or they want to see you achieve, and they actually kind of go in line with that. So like ingraining things early and often and providing a bulletproof plan and being adaptable to the habits is important. Like, I mean, you get a new job. Like, I got a new personal training client at 4 a.m. Like, not 4 a.m. Got a new personal training client midday, and I usually train around that time. What I'm gonna do? I'll probably wake up super early and I'm gonna go train because like it's ingrained in my system that I need to do it. If it's
Yeah.
a different time, it's a different time. Cool, but it needs to happen. I mean, because this is my goal and this is what I want to do. So figure out a goal. If something comes up, figure out a way to move the block instead of just knocking the block over like, oh, that's not gonna work. I think people give up too easily too. I just don't want to do shit because it doesn't fucking satisfy their need, or I can't wake up that early, or I can't stay up that late, or I'm just too tired after work. Like those are fucking just dumbass excuses because you can get used to anything too. Like that's the thing too. People don't understand. You can get used to working 8-hour shifts or 12-hour shifts and working out for like going for a walk for 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And sooner or later, that 30, 45 minute walk will become a run because you're used to the walk and you want to intensify
Yeah.
it. Then sooner or later, that walk will turn into, oh man, I have time to actually go to the gym instead. So it always will ramp up and you can always get used to something. But the first hump is always the hardest. And people need to realize that. If you get over that first hump and you become adaptable and you're able to change stuff around, you're always able to change stuff around. There's no stuck. You provide the stuck. I mean, you can unstuck yourself. I mean, that's unstuck yourself. Sounds gay either way. But but you can but you choose to be stuck. I mean, if it doesn't fucking work out, always a way around it. You have to be adaptable to the situations that come in front of you. And if you ingrain the systems, which is, I mean, the lean systems that I integrate every single day, is I have to get at least 7,000 steps a day, which is super easy because I pace around like on my phone or like while I'm coaching and stuff like that. I make sure I get like 6 to 8 cups of water. I mean, I don't measure my cups of water because I can't count past 5 reps. So like, why would I try to count past 5 and anything else? So I make sure my piss is clear. My piss is clear once I'm hydrated, and that always changes throughout the day. If it starts becoming yellow because I'm super dehydrated, I need to drink more water at that point. I make sure that I prioritize my protein first, and I get somewhere around my body weight. Like as long as it's 0.8, 0.7, if I can get pure body weight, I'm happy. Like that's hard. Like that is hard. I make sure that I eat veggie or fruit every single meal. That goes coincide with the protein. I make sure that I fucking get at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep. And I make sure that I have my probiotic, my probiotics, my multi. I make sure that I eat the amount of calories that I need to eat that day. Like I make sure that that stuff happens because that's a priority. I mean, and those are simple. And I also give myself a range. I think people are it needs to be this. And if it's not this, it's too hard. I mean, like I need to get 1 gram per body weight of protein. I think that's hard for like the average person who doesn't necessarily know anything about fitness. I think that's hard. I mean, so what can you do to block that and help that person out? Give it a fucking range. Same thing with calories. I'm never gonna get exactly 2,500 calories in my diet. I get 2,300, 2,700, up and down 200. I'm happy. Because
Yeah,
like
that's
it's
what I was gonna ask you too. Like,
yeah.
how do you feel about ranges in turn? But you're kind of answering that question on the spot.
I love fucking ranges because like it's impossible to be perfect.
Yeah.
If you're expecting perfection, then nothing's ever perfect. I mean, you're never gonna fucking win. If it think it's gonna be perfect, it's not. There are fucking ups, downs. You're gonna feel like dog shit one day, and then you're gonna have to figure out how to adjust your workout plan. Or you're gonna have
And
to
I'll
figure
take it a step further too. Like, even when we're putting these estimations on how much protein we need and how much calories we need, it's within a range at the end of the day. Like,
yeah,
nobody can really test through a formula what that specific number is going to be to you. You can get an idea of the range. So that's where Evan's like, if I'm within 200 of my range up or down, like I'm staying within that range. If I have an idea of 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per body weight, like this is my range that I'm living in. 3 to 5 veggies per day, like these are ranges that I know if I can keep consistent with this structure, that I can start treading in the right direction at the end of the day. And I can start having that physique and that feeling that I'm looking for. And I think we do get too specific on, oh, you specifically need 2,250 calories. How the fuck do you know that? Like, did we go in a lab and really test exactly that this is the number that I need? Right. You know, like, how would you ever know that through a general formula that's given to you?
yeah,
To give you guesstimation. It's meant to provide you a range at the end of the day.
exactly.
And I think that's where people need to be more fixated in, is like allowing yourself ranges to where it's like if you hit above that number or below that number, you're still within the same ballpark to have something that you can consistently measure,
Mhm,
which is good. And now you can kind of create that habit daily.
mhm.
And it's also important that you create these habits, keyword daily, not 5 days out the week, not 4 days out the week.
Yeah,
And I think that's also what starts to happen with a lot of people too, is it goes back to like that work schedule conversation I have. If the normal person works a Monday through Friday, or just the normal person works, let's say 5 days a week, what
mhm,
happens on that 1 or 2 days that you're not working?
yeah.
Do you still have a structure that you're still getting your daily habits, or do you just throw them out the window?
What
Which
did
can really set back your progress a lot.
what do you do on your weekends? Like what like do you have something like a foundation in plan, or do you do exactly the same stuff on the weekends?
So I'm getting better now just because it's summer. Like, I've intentionally been enjoying myself. So,
Yeah,
but
intentionally
now, yeah, like
enjoying.
intentionally, I'm literally intentionally enjoying myself.
Yeah.
And it's funny we're having this like conversation because we got the Spartan coming up in 2 months, October 1st.
Mhm.
So I'm making it more strict for myself to have certain habits because I want to show up for the Spartan in shape.
Yeah.
Even my running, like yesterday I had a gap in the middle of the not in the middle of the day, like the afternoon, that I typically don't have. And I was like, I'm gonna take this opportunity to run. So I actually did 2 miles, and I was pretty happy with myself there.
Nice.
I ran, walked a little bit, but I walked less than I typically walk, which is
Hey,
a win now. I don't
yeah.
get sore in my hips and my feet and my knees anymore from running. So
Mhm.
this is for me creating the habit of consistently running, and something that started off with me running once a week. I'm averaging 2 times a week, with the higher end of being on the third day.
Yeah. Nice.
And once you actually start to implement the seed
Mhm.
to be intentional to do something, you actually create the space to do it. And you
Mhm.
actually find that you have more time to do it. And naturally your priorities start to switch to where you can actually do this thing a little more. I
Yeah.
have an online client that just started with me recently, and we got on our consultation call, the whole nine. She got a lot of shit going on. Her life is hectic. So I actually programmed for her that I want you to do 15 minutes of quiet time every single day,
Nice.
uninterrupted, right to yourself. On the days you train, you don't have to do the walk, because I add walking along with your training. But if
Mhm.
you want to walk, fucking go do it. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
But the days that you don't train, I'm prioritizing that you make it either a 15-minute walk or you get 7,000 steps for the day. And with this crazy schedule that she has, family, the whole nine, whatever, blah, 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 she hasn't missed a fucking day on it yet.
I love that.
Simply that is in her brain now and structured that I need to do this. And I posted on my story the other day, because this was a big win, that she was like, I did 30 minutes today instead of
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Because
So it's
she's
like all of a sudden this time came out of nowhere.
yeah.
It was there before, but you prioritized it differently. And now you have this structure, and you created the capacity to now fit this in your routine. Before,
Exactly.
it sounded like it was impossible, because it was impossible with the way that you were moving, the
Mhm.
way that life was in control of you and you didn't have control over your time.
Yeah.
So now when you're training, it's a matter of, hey, we're going to force you to prioritize your time more and show you that you have more time in to do things than you think you do, even with your crazy work schedule. You're
Yeah.
just not prioritizing the time to do it for yourself.
Mhm. And that's crazy because like the time is such a fucking weird concept because
It
people are
is.
always busy, but yet like they're on Instagram or they're doing dumb shit. Like you can be busy all you want, but like it's all about mismanaging your priorities. And like just like you said, and like we said before, the hump and starting is always the hardest part, but you'll need to start with an hour. And I feel like people try to jump into the deep end. Like I said, you're either toes deep or you're deep ends. You know what I mean, like start small and then start ramping. And then sooner or later, like you just said, 15 minutes turned to 30 minutes because she was enjoying herself and then she enjoyed the quiet time and she found she had so much more time. You know what I mean, and that time became valuable to her. And that's where it's crazy. When the time to improve your fitness becomes valuable, then nothing else fucking matters.
Yeah.
Is once you understand that the value that becoming a healthier person, a more fit person becomes to you, everything else becomes better. You know what I mean? Like once you work on self, everything becomes better. Like not even like fucking thing, like not even like fitness wise, like mentally. Once you work on yourself in any way, shape, or form to better yourself, everything else becomes easier. Everything else becomes better. You see clearer. You know what I mean? And you see your priorities all are a little different. You know what I mean? It's just seeing. It's just seeing what time does. That's all it is. And that's what's crazy. I wanted to actually talk about my bullet, where I know we want to go to a different topic, but I want to talk about my bulletproof weekend because my bulletproof weekend's a little bit
Okay.
different from yours because I enjoy going out on the weekends. Just because like I don't have that many friends. So if I do go out, I do go out a little ham. So for me, a lot of my clients are the same way where like they work on Wednesday to Friday and then usually the weekends a shit show. I don't like taking away stuff just because like I feel like it's harder to take away than add. So I
Mhm.
add things. So number one is being active early and often. Like if that's a walk, a run, going to the gym, using the workout that they give you, something around there. work out early and often, because a lot of times you're not going to go out until like 12 or after. Making sure that maybe you could start a little less in a calorie deficit. I'm not the biggest fan of like, don't eat fucking food in the morning. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
hate
But
that.
like,
Stupid
let's
thing.
eat a little bit less because I want you to enjoy what you're gonna eat like when you go out. I mean, real simple. Like, I want you to go, if you're gonna eat burgers, I'm not gonna tell you go drink a shit ton, but like I don't want you to eat any burgers. I can fucking I can drink and eat like a fucking monster. So I'm not gonna tell you to do that. If you do drink, okay, try to stick to liquor instead of beer, because I mean they're both empty calories, but then you have the carbonation factor that comes into to drinking beer and stuff like that. And then my last thing is like, if you're gonna go out and you know where you're going, look at the menu before. Make your choices before you go in, because once peer pressure sets in and once liquor hits the fucking system, your inhibitions are gone and you're gonna eat whatever the fuck you want. Which again, there's no problem with eating whatever the fuck you want. But the issue becomes the fact when you overindulge and then you overindulge and then you overindulge because you blew the fucking weekend and now you're starting at not zero, but you're starting back behind the starting line. And that's what you're doing. You're not knocking down the starting line. Like, you're moving back and now you have to fucking catch up to the race every fucking week.
Yeah.
You don't want to have to catch up. You want to start on that line. So those are what I teach my clients to do. And hopefully that helps like anybody else out. And that's what I do personally. And it's been helping me kind of stay as lean as I possibly can be.
Yeah, I stick with the same mindset. Um, like I said, I've just been enjoying my summer lately, but I've really been, I would say over like the past week or so, like really trying to create a little more structure for myself, because now I'm kind of easing out of that summer, out of the summer fun, and just kind of getting back into like what a fall routine might look like.
Yes.
And now it's like, okay, we're creating a little more structure. And it's funny because me and my girl are kind of like doing it together. And she's like, well, what happens when we have an event or we have other things? And I'm like, we're not gonna not enjoy the event. And literally, like a lot of shit that you were saying early, maybe that means we get an extra couple steps in on the weekend and we work out, we do here, we manage our calories a little differently in the morning just to not maybe have as big of a breakfast if we know that we're gonna have like a really big dinner later on at night or something. It's like we're also not in a state where we're going through like a health crisis, right? Like we can still be healthy individuals, but now we have more of a system that allows us to prepare for moments of indulgence,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know. And I think that's very important. And also realizing like you're preparing for that moment of when you're going to enjoy yourself. And that's not going to be a habit that carries over into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Mhm.
It's just a moment. Like we'll be fine because our system and our structure allows us that, hey, we're getting all these steps in throughout the week. We're getting X amount of strength workouts in. We're getting X amount of
Mhm.
um cardio workouts in, and our calorie range is consistent in this space. So this moment is actually probably going to help us more in
Exactly.
terms of how we feel in that carb refeed and things of that nature. But yeah, and I think, and it really just boils down to like what we said earlier. It's really that system at the end of the day. And it's like having that system that you're structured in allows that wiggle room.
Yep.
If there's no structure set, then everything you do looks like it's going to be either good or wrong.
Yes.
But if you have a system, what might look wrong isn't wrong. It fits a part of what you created for yourself to allow. Like you allow the capacity to eat this. You can eat a fucking brownie every single day if you really allow yourself like a little sweet treat. And
Yep.
let's say the average brownie is 200 calories, right? I'm just throwing a number out there.
Mhm.
200 calories can fit if you have to eat 2,500 calories a day. It
Yep.
can work.
Mhm.
Now, that can be 85 to 90% of the rest of your day looks like high protein, veggies, hydration, good sleep, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I have 200 calories to spend. It's a budget.
Yeah.
It's a part of my budget that I can spend this 200 calories because I have the space to do it. Opposed to someone who doesn't have that structure, to now that 200 calorie brownie, you just look at it like, nah, I can't do it. Like it's wrong.
Yeah. It's
No,
not
it's wrong. It's wrong because you don't have a system. And now any food to you is gonna look like good or bad, opposed to does it work with the plan or not.
Yeah, it's well, first off, I don't know who just has one brownie. I don't know who the
That
fuck.
part too.
Yeah, I have no idea who does
But
that.
if it's a part of the system, you'll make
If
sure
it's part
that you
of a system,
discipline
it works.
yourself to get
Exactly.
that one brownie.
Yeah, if
Why
it's a
not?
part of the system, if it's a part of the system, it's a part of the system. But
Because
yeah,
I don't believe in cold turkey stuff either. I don't think it
no,
works for the average person.
it does
Like
not.
I know I'm someone who craves sweet tasting daily,
100%.
so for me, how do you combat that, or how do you work with it? I don't tell myself no sweets for the whole day. No, so maybe I'm gonna find ways that satisfies a sweet taste, but that could be lower calorie friendly.
Yep.
Like before we got on this call, I was eating vanilla bean Greek yogurt with like drizzle of honey and blueberries.
Yeah.
Very low calorie, but it gives me the sensation of sweet. And that shit probably wasn't any more than like 250 calories.
Yeah. It's a. I
Perfectly fine,
kind
it
of do.
fits.
Yeah, I do. I kind of do the same thing for me. It's like I know I can't. I will do more than one. I'm one of those people that like if I do have a sweet, I can't cut it off. So that's just me personally. So what I do is I'll make sure like my protein powder is like fucking sweet.
Yeah,
Like, super
that's
sweet. Like
smart.
I just had like a Oreo protein like powder shake from Ghost, and like that satisfies my sweet taste, and it gives me the protein that I need. Cool. I don't need that shit no more. Like, and on top of that, if I want more sweet, I'll just drink another one.
Mm.
I mean, what's that gonna do? Just get me closer to my fucking goal. So it's managing what's important to you, but also figuring out your personality traits and figuring out ways to like kind of maneuver in a way that still provides success. And I think people again like they see the hump and they don't want to get over it, but it's literally trial and error to figure out how it fits in your schedule, how it fits in your nutrition, how it fits into your program. Like you need to give it time to fit the system because the system's not going to work the first time. Like that part right there is like where people need to realize they need to calm down. Like it takes trial and error. It takes years and years and years to get here. Like don't have this unrealistic goal or unrealistic standard of what fitness looks like. Fitness looks like is very different for everybody else. Health
Oh
is
yeah, it is.
everybody else. I mean, like people have this. I'm gonna look like fucking The Rock in 6 months. Well, if you take a shit ton of steroids and you fucking work out like 9 hours a day, then yeah. But who the fuck does that? You know what I mean?
Nobody's life is
Nobody's
designed
like
for that, and you'll be
exactly.
fucking miserable.
Oh,
You'll,
100%
you'll be
miserable.
you'll be miserable.
Yeah.
And I
So
think people need to stop like comparing themselves to people who do fitness for like a lifestyle, professional athletes, any type of influence that they see, because it gives a unrealistic expectation of you. And we talk about time and having capacity, but your life doesn't revolve around it. So
no.
you can still get the goals that you want, but make it realistic to what capacity you do have to provide. And
Mhm.
that's not telling you to be lazy, it's being realistic. These people have a system around them that the average person doesn't have the capacity to have around them, but their
Yeah.
life is designed for them to be this way. You can't compare yourself to a professional athlete, because a professional athlete their job for a living is to be in shape. They
Exactly.
have doctors, therapists, physical therapists, massage therapists, like every therapist you could possibly think that's a part of their village to make them a successful athlete, on top of trainers, dietitians, like that. The level of it's almost it's like if you're not in shape at that point, it's just completely your fault. Like you
Yeah.
have all the resources that you need to literally be the best possible shape
Yeah.
to be on the field to produce what you need to produce. Like it's literally your fault at that point. You just literally just don't want to do it at that point.
Don't want it. And I think people need to realize that like it's not for everybody to be in a certain shape. Like before I get into that too much, have you seen Quarterback on Netflix?
I want to watch it. I heard it's good.
Yeah, it's good. Now to go back to your athlete analogy, the fact that all they focus on is football. Their
Yeah.
life revolves around football. Everything revolves around football. Kirk Cousins doesn't even pick out his fucking clothes
Oh
because it's
wow.
too much for his fucking brain because everything revolves around football. Like his wife picks out his clothes and like does everything else. But like that is a level of obsession that people don't understand. And that's the level of obsession that these people in the fitness industry have. That's their life. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard. People don't realize how hard it is to get under 10% body fat and how people look like that constantly. You know what I mean? And if you want to be the person that looks like that and enjoys himself, like, I'm sorry, it's very, very fucking hard.
Yeah.
So
That
like
extra strict lifestyle, that's where that starts to apply.
that's where he starts to
And then
apply.
that's a lifestyle that the average person that just wants to be lean and in shape, they don't want that shit for themselves.
No.
I'm telling you guys that right now. I've been on the leaner aspect of it. Like, is it possible to do? Yeah. The steps you're gonna have to take, the dedication you're gonna have to take to be there. If you want that for yourself, know what comes with that. So I'm not here to tell anybody like to get super ripped and lean. Like, there's no point to do it. There's a point to do it if you want that for yourself. But know what really comes with that lifestyle. It's very, very cut and dry type of work,
Yeah.
day in, day out. It doesn't really give too much room for play. Not
No.
too much room for play.
Not even like Chipotle, like not even like ketchup on your fucking burger type, like cut and dry. Not even like spices or like fucking seasoning on your chicken cut and dry sometimes. Like, if you want to be that fucking
It could
lean,
get difficult.
like
It could get
it,
intense.
it can get nasty. It can get like fucking eating cardboard type shit. Like, you need to realize that there are unrealistic standards and you need to find your happiness. You need to find a place that like everything fits and everything is seamless. And that's like the seamless thing is like a goal where like you don't even have to think about stuff. You have to think about it. It just happens. I mean, of course, like things are gonna come up, but if you have the foundation in play, like it's always gonna fucking be there. Always gonna be there. You'll always find a fucking way.
But check this part too. So I'm also big on things being in phases. So
Mhm.
if you're at a phase to where you really do need to drop a ton of weight by a certain period of time, that could require you to be in a phase that's very, very strict. But do
Yes.
understand that you're not going to live in that phase.
No.
So there's ways of getting lean that you want to be mindful of, is kind of figure out what your timeline is. You want to be realistic, but you also want to give yourself room for figuring out stuff and room for error. But if your goal is 3 months to really get lean, sacrifice all day long. That's really what it's gonna be. You're gonna have to program cheat meals just to refeed your body at that point. Not
Yes.
even for like pleasure, simply just for refeeding it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
And
I kind of do that. I like the only way so the high rocks conditioning that I have on Sundays. So we condition on Sundays. I go out with my friends immediately after, and that's my cheat meal. Just because like I fucking kicked my fucking ass. So like, all right, cool. Like, I'm gonna have the time to hang out with my friends and have the cheat meal at the same fucking time. Like, it's programmed cheat meals.
yeah.
That's how I do it.
And your body's really crying for it at that point because of how much energy it expended at that
Yeah.
at
And
that.
it's
And
it's
you're
not
not
one of those,
training like that every day. You're competing.
no,
It's different.
exactly. I'm competing and I'm training for it. And it's not one of those things where like I'm training to eat. I'm training because it's part of my training for something and I need it to refuel me. Like, there's a difference between like training to eat instead of training to train and then refueling. Those are two different things. But that's what I kind of do. I understand. I understand that thought process, but I think it's very important that people understand the difference between the two things.
And it just goes back to like what's being intentional, right? So if you want to be lean, is it like a high priority to you, or is it something that you want to be over time? Because if it's something that you want to be over time, there's steps that you can take to create a structure for that and still allow room to just be a human,
Yeah.
opposed to just feeling like you're just this robot that has no social interaction or have nothing else going for them in the world outside of just being a gym head and eating the most dry meals as possible, because you'll get this result, and then once you get the result, it's just like, all right, what now?
Yeah.
That's the part that I always want people to be mindful of. But I think it comes back to like being intentional. I know I'm going to be extra strict on myself going into October because I'm getting ready for a Spartan race, and I want to do better this Spartan race than I did at my previous Spartan race. So with that is going to come a different level of making sure I get my workouts in, a different level of making sure my nutrition is a little extra tighter than it normally is, because 2 month phase that I'm now entering in is a little more of aggressive phase that I'm normally going to be in. That's
Exactly.
perfectly fine. So now after this phase, am I going to fall off the bandwagon with training? Absolutely not. It's ingrained in me at this point. But I'll have more of a looser structure that I can still do the tasks that I need to be healthy, but I won't have to be as strict with certain things or won't have to exert myself as hard during this phase because like I'm not in that competitive phase before. And I
Exactly.
think that's where people kind of should figure with themselves is maybe they come in as like for 3 months I want to be competitively lean with myself like that. That's what I want to compete and be lean in terms of myself and my own goal. Okay, let's be really strict and let's do that. But that typically starts going sideways because I'll kind of see how people's lifestyles are and how they're not adhering to certain things. So that kind of lets me know how much of a priority this is to somebody at the moment.
Yeah.
So then at that point, like I don't go that route because it's like if it was really, really that serious and dedicated to you that it has to be done within this 3 months this span, you would create the capacity for it.
Yeah.
And I know this too from looking because I'm working with some of the fighters at the gym and shit now. So when guys are getting ready for a fight, the world changes. Like their mindset changes, what they do outside of the gym, it has to change a little bit because it's like we're in competitive fight camp mode. So that loose structure that I have, it really can't exist too much here because I'm competing.
Yeah.
And I know the person that I'm competing against, I want to make sure that I'm doing what they're doing or better than what they're doing because we're coming to fight each other at this point.
Yeah.
After that, you go into off season, and however that looks for you is what your off season looks like. And these camps can be 8 to 12 weeks, give or take. Most of them are 8. Some people fight within 4 weeks because the fight world is a little interesting. Sometimes people pick up a week, a
Yeah.
fight
No,
last minute.
I've
So
done
they
that.
kind of got to stay fight ready, if that makes sense. But it's a lot that plays into it. And I think people should really see how serious that they want to prioritize what this goal is for them and then let that determine on how strict of a system their habits need.
Yeah.
There's ways to be lean and healthy and happy, and there's ways to be lean and strict and quote unquote miserable. You talk to a lot of these guys that are competing for powerlifting, not powerlifting, bodybuilding competitions, and life is hell, dude. Like absolute hell. They're tired, they're hungry, like their meals are so strict and they don't have much wiggle room because they're working to be at the lowest of lowest body percentage that the average person is just not going to sit around and won't want to sit around. When you get that lean in your life and you experience it, if you're not competing, you realize there's really no point for you to ever be like 7% body fat or
Bro,
6% body fat.
you moving like fucking like molasses. You're fucking
Yeah.
tired all the time. Like you're depleted and constantly. Yeah, I think it's crazy because I think it needs to be. People don't understand how much of a lifestyle it needs to become, and people are scared to change their lifestyle to actually do it because it's not a priority. If it was a priority, you make sure that your lifestyle is conducive to it. I mean, if you're gonna come in and you're gonna say one thing, you're gonna act different. It's not. We already know that it's not gonna be a lifestyle for you. It's not a priority already.
For sure.
So our goal for you, for people that are listening, is to understand that to ingrain these systems, you need to change your lifestyle a little bit. You might have to sacrifice some things, and that would come with it. But if it's a priority, sacrifices are okay. It's not sacrifices; it's just shit you don't need. And I think that's also a hard word. It's just shit you don't need because your priority is to do X, Y, and Z. So if you want to be lean, it needs to be a lifestyle because it needs to be something that consistently happens. Something that does not fucking, even if something comes in your way, you're gonna adapt. It's the same thing. It's like fucking, it's being a video game there too. It's like, bro, like I'm not gonna have time to play video games later. I'm gonna figure out a way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that much important to you.
People do it.
People do it. People will sit behind, play 2K all fucking day. You know what I mean? That's their priority. They want to fucking get that fucking player ranked. I don't play 2K. Fuck, I don't have time for that because that's not my priority of mine. But whatever the fuck they're doing, they play 2K for 8 hours a day. Fuck it. They find a priority and make it a lifestyle.
let's create like a conclusion, right? If
Yeah.
someone wants to live a general, healthy, lean life over time, have a nice physique, like what does that look like for somebody? Like what are some habits that people can set for themselves that are pretty general, but they can make it specific to their needs as they need to. But this is a good general guideline to get yourself in the right direction.
Okay, so I kind of went over it already. This is something that very basic stuff that I usually teach my clients and make sure that they can grain it very quickly. Number one is being active often. So making sure they get their steps in. Steps are very simple. It's very easy to get 7,000 steps. The number 10,000 really doesn't come from anything except having a good number. You're realistically 7,000 is like the number that actually gets you the results that you want to do. So hitting
I heard that
7,000
over the
steps.
last year too.
Yeah, exactly. Boom. 7,000, 10,000, give yourself a range. You get that daily, cool. Figure out a way to do that. If that's walking 15 minutes, if that's walking a mile, if that's walking with a ruck on, I don't care. Walk or fucking go run. Get your steps in. Super easy to do. Number two is making sure that you're eating enough if you're eating enough protein. The only way to figure that out is looking at your nutrition. So I make sure that people understand the nutrition. So at least a 7-day meal guide, just to kind of look at it. Just be like, because you'll be surprised. People don't know what fucking a 200 calorie looks like or 6 ounces of chicken actually looks like. So to educate yourself, look at your diet, measure everything you can measure just for a week. I mean, and then see, you'll be surprised. A lot of people don't eat enough anyway. So make sure that you're hitting the right amount of calories, number one, but making sure that you're prioritizing your protein. Because a lot of times people prioritize the other stuff first.
Yes.
But if you prioritize your protein, the other stuff will kind of blend in naturally. So
Correct.
think about your chicken, your meat first, and then the carbs will match, and then your veggies will match. In tune with that is making sure that you're eating like your veggies and your fruits at every meal. Don't do it at the same time. I feel like having veggies and fruits at the same time just sounds nasty, but like figure out a way to ingrain it, even if it's like doing something. Water, hydration is very important. Those are very simple things.
What's a good number to kind of hit hydration wise in your
So you're
opinion?
better at it than me with number wise. I don't care number wise. I care piss wise. I care that you're not licking your lips all the time. I care that when you go to the bathroom, like I think people overhydrate to the point that they're peeing every 20 minutes because they're like, I'm still not hydrated. If your piss comes out clear at least once or twice a day, you know what I mean? And it consistently stays like that, like a little lighter than fucking lemonade kind of color, I'm cool with it. Because that means you're hydrated. If it fucking orangish, then you need to fucking drink something. If it looks like Coca-Cola, go to the hospital.
Definitely shouldn't be peeing
Definitely shouldn't be brown. There's something going on with your kidneys. So that to me, I don't even think about a number because I'm just drinking water constantly. So like just make sure your piss is clean. I mean clear at least once. You're hydrated.
So I'll put a little input with that. I like to think of hydration as like you're watering a plant.
Yeah.
So I tell people, I always ask them, how many days are you up a day? Right. So if a lot of people sleep as shit, let's say you're sleeping 4 to 5 hours a day, that means you're up for 20 hours in a day. So let's say you're actually getting your 8 hours of sleep, you're still up 16 hours in a day.
Yeah.
So if you were to drink 10 ounces every other hour, which would be 8 ounces, which would be 8 hours, and this is literally a 10-ounce drink every 2 hours, that will put you at 80 ounces of water already.
Nice.
So I like to put I say like a good rule of thumb is 80 to 100 ounces just for like an average person. And that can literally just be you drinking like an 8-ounce cup once every hour.
Yeah.
You're just watering yourself a little bit every hour. You're not trying to gulp a ton and then you're not drinking for the rest of the day or whatever. You're just continuing to just give yourself water every hour and you're just treating yourself like a plant.
Yeah.
And that is a way that you will always stay hydrated. And if you're a lot more active than the average person, then you'll know because your body will crave the water to just drink a little bit extra than you're already doing.
I like that. I think that's also very easy for people to sit behind a desk all day.
Yes. That's why I bring it up too.
Yeah. So like I think a good rule of thumb too, if they want to start doing it and you have a problem with hydrating, because I feel a lot of people just forget to drink because they're so focused on their work.
Mm-hmm.
Like an alarm.
Yeah.
The alarm be
create
like,
the
oh,
habit to where you don't have to think about it, right? That just
exactly.
comes from you practicing it and being intentional that I need to drink water. Like
Yeah,
for me, like I carry my branding, Building Beast, Yeti bottle everywhere.
nice.
I carry it with me all the time. So I'm out of sight, out of mind. It's always in my sight. So I continue to know, like, just sip, sip,
Yeah.
sip, sip. Like you'll be fine. You're never gonna miss it. I take this shit everywhere, dude. I
Mm.
I never want to feel like I don't have water because I feel moments where it's just like dry mouth, and you and I are active, so we have to drink a lot of water because our body really needs it.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's also now I have to take a piss because we're talking about water.
So
What was the other
we
thing?
had we had three so far. We brought up hydrating. The first one you said was
Walking. It was
yeah, your
walk
steps.
steps and then protein, veggies,
Yes,
stuff. Okay. The next
perfect.
one is strength training 2 to 3 times a week.
Yes,
I'm a big fan of 3. I think 3 is optimal. 4 is good. I'm not saying 4 is bad. I love 4 if you have time for 4. I think people try to say I'm gonna start going to the gym 4 or 5 times a week and it doesn't work. And that's one of those things where they dive too deep in the deep end and then they can't fucking come back up to the surface. 2 to 3, especially if you're beginning or you're one of those that are just like us where we're super busy and you can kind of prioritize and like maneuver around your programming enough that you can get stuff in 3 days. Perfect. Strength train. Because building muscle is always the fucking answer.
it
People need
is.
to realize that. Building muscle is always the answer. If you want to be lean, build muscle. If you want to lose weight, build muscle. That's as simple as that. And that's another thing that we didn't even talk about is building muscle and the correlation between building muscle and being lean. But
Yeah,
that's another story for
we
another
brought
time.
that up in a previous podcast before, I believe.
Yeah, so we don't have to go dive deep, but building muscle is
But
always
we'll
the
bring it up again in future podcasts for sure.
answer. Oh yeah, no, this it's gonna be I'm gonna get that on the fucking shirt. Building muscle. And then so 2 to 3 times a week, did that, walking, hydrate, sleeping, recovering.
Yeah,
So that's a big one for
one.
me. 6 to 8. I work better at 7, sometimes better at 6. 8 might be too much for me. And finding out like what's like a good range for you. Some people like are just fucking people that need only 4 and they have like a great sleep score. So figuring that out, but making sure that you're optimally recovered. So sleep is like the bare minimum, but if you can find a way to de-stress, like go get massages, meditate. I mean, some people like for me personally, like a good meditation for me is like actually playing video games just because it zones me out and I think nothing else except what's in front of me. So it kind of like deteriorates everything else around me and I can do that for hours. So it's a form of meditation, even though I'm stressing myself out because I'm playing, but it's one of those things where it just works for me. So de-stressing, but prioritizing 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Then I have bonuses. Bonuses are 2 to 3 times the cardio if you can fit that in. Because you're already getting your steps in. If you're running and getting your steps in, cool. But if you want to add an extra value of building up your oxidative base and aerobic base, like run or pick up cardio and do a bike or do something else. And the last one for me is a probiotic and a multi. I know Terrence isn't big on probiotics, but for me, like I feel like it helps my gut out, and I want to make sure that if my gut's fucked up, then I can't focus. And have you ever got a stomach ache and like couldn't do anything all day? Because your stomach's your second brain. If that can't function correctly, like it's everything else is going to be out of whack. And then the multi, because I know I don't eat a wide variety of things like, at all. Like I fucking the same shit all the time, and then I have a burger here and there. So I need the multi just to help balance myself out. And that's the recommendations I have for everybody. Like that's like if you can get all 5 of those plus the other 2, you're golden.
So bonus one I always like to throw in is stress management.
Yes.
So when you highly stress, your cortisol levels shoot up, and that makes things very, very difficult to help you stay lean.
Yeah.
But also too, people that are highly stressed, they typically don't have a lot of control and boundaries around other things in their life.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that goes right into the system conversation.
Mhm.
So people that I find that are really good at managing stress are really just good at managing shit, period.
Yes.
And a lot of people have stressful lives. So I'm not going to downplay anybody's stressors, but I think it's very important that you learn how to manage and create organization as best as possible with the stresses that you endure in life. Because if you have that skill down pat, you start to learn how you can organize everything in terms of training, time management, eating, literally everything that can possibly come your way, you'll be able to combat it. So I think just having the skill of managing stress is one of those skills that just play out into everything that you experience. So I know me, like my fitness and my business really taught me how to manage stress and how to deal with stressors to where I just know how to maneuver.
Yeah.
And it doesn't allow for many setbacks. And I think that's what I've been trying to find as I'm saying this is that stressors, if you let them get the best of you, they will set you back. But if you know how to combat your stressors, now they just looked at more as obstacles and not necessarily things that are going to take you off of your game plan. Because stressors are going to happen. It's like we're
100%.
adults. Like it's
Okay.
normal. It could be family, it could be work, it can be injuries, like little things like that. But the fact that you have your structure in play and you know how to manage through these moments, nothing gets set, like your game plan doesn't get thrown off. You just learn how to adapt to it. And
Yes.
managing stress really teaches you how to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you can adapt to anything around you, the better that you can get to whatever goal that you need to get to.
Yeah.
If I allowed myself to succumb to every stressor that came my way, I would be a very stagnant person.
Yeah. I mean, you probably will never leave the fucking house.
I wouldn't.
I mean, that it goes back to having like this super high anxiety level because nothing ever goes your way, or nothing's ever like fitting into like the box that you want to create. Nothing's ever going to fit to it. Everybody has
Yeah.
their own intention. Everybody has their own desire. Like, if you want something done a certain way, be prepared to have to be adaptable to the situation. It's 100% it. Shit's always gonna pop up. Like, figure the. I like two things. I like being adaptable, and I like saying figure that shit out.
Yeah.
Figure
You
the
gotta
fuck out.
figure it out.
Yeah, if it's not gonna work one way, all right, cool. It's like people like to fucking ram their head against the brick wall of no constantly, and then complain that it's not working. It's like, because like the fucking wall is gonna break if you headbutt it, motherfucker. Go around the wall
Yeah.
and go backwards and go get a fucking sledgehammer and break the fucking wall. Like, people try to do the same thing constantly because they think it only goes one way. I mean, but there's always another way around it. I think that's the other thing about being, I mean, successful in any way, is there's
Yeah.
always another way. Nobody ever gets to the top like doing the same exact thing.
Every blueprint has different routes that you can take in the blueprint. The blueprint is a structure.
Yeah.
And we keep saying the same thing over and over because it's true.
Yeah.
And you find that it still comes into structure and organization as we keep having this conversation, because it's true. And I want to leave everybody with that part right there is you must be intentional on what that is that you're trying to achieve, and create a structure that allows you to adapt to whatever stresses are going to come.
Mhm.
And then that's how you're ultimately going to get to where you got to go. But there's guidelines and principles that if you just kind of do these things, you'll get there. And just to go over some of the things that we say, just so we can even clip it for a bit, the lean laws are try to get 0.8 grams to a gram of body weight in protein, daily steps in, daily physical activity in.
Yeah. Something
So we
act.
look for 7,000 steps. We look for that. That's cool. But anything that you can just do like mindless movement, that's where credible flows comes in for me. That's where rope flows come in for me. Like, even on days where I'm not actually going through a workout, I'm doing something, dude. I'm fucking randomly balancing. I'm jumping. I'm walking. I'm just moving. Like, I do a lot of movement on a daily basis.
Mhm.
Manage your stress levels. Hydrate every hour. 8 ounces an hour. It take you a long way. If you need a number to reach for the day, 80 ounces to 100 ounces is a good start.
Yeah.
And then you can kind of finagle it from there. If 80 ounces is hard to get in the beginning, plant the seed and start with 50.
Yeah.
You know, like you want to get started so you can start to plant the seed of knowing where you want to go with it. And don't feel like you have to go all the way to the deep end. If you have these guidelines laid out for you that you know you want to achieve, and say they're hard for you to achieve now, that doesn't mean they're going to be hard for you to achieve in 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
Plant the seed to get it done because it's intentional. Is if you know you want to get 7,000 steps a day, and you're right now you're getting 1,000 steps a day, maybe you can start at getting 2,000, 3,000. 3,000 can turn into 4,000, 4,000 can turn into 5,000. Next thing you know, you're 7,000 a day.
Well, problem
So
solved.
even though we're giving you guys these guidelines, it's important for you to know where you are in your phase and what you can contribute at the moment.
Yes.
So once you figure out what you can contribute, use that as your starting base, and then just add more to the bank account as you keep going.
Yeah.
Now your contributions get higher.
I'd
And
rather
now your baseline changes.
I'd rather people start small than not start at all.
Yeah. And what happens is people just start with overshooting, and then that just makes them, they just tap out.
Yeah.
And now they feel like, and you're not giving yourself a chance to grow. Same thing with me in sprinting. When I talked about it earlier podcast, I went from not sprinting to I'm gonna give full effort, and every time I did that, I strained a muscle. My body wasn't prepped for it, and now that set me back, and it set me back, and it set me back. And now this year, I have a different approach to it. I'm easing my way into sprinting intensity wise, and my intensity is picking up every workout that I'm doing. I didn't tap out. And now I got way more volume in with sprinting than I have over the past couple of years because I planted the seed and I allowed the seed to grow. Us starting the podcast, we started from random conversation, and now we got microphones. It's consistent. We have meetings. The conversations are better. Like, we just planted the seed, and we're just contributing more and more as we get better at this thing. And now our baseline ability to be able to podcast is higher than when it started.
Yeah.
And that's just with anything, guys. Like, just figure out what you can contribute, have guidelines that you need to follow, figure out how strict you want to be within yourself, and fucking be intentional with every decision that you make. And that's going to get you where you need to go. It's going to head you right in the right direction. As soon as you're not intentional of what you're trying to do, you're going to get random fucking results.
Yeah. I think the last part is making sure, understanding that it's going to suck in the beginning and you might enjoy it, but find ways to find enjoyment in habits. If
Anything you enjoy, you'll be consistent with.
Yeah, exactly. It's find a way to make it enjoyable. If we talked about strength training and strength training is not for you, which I don't know why, whatever, and the kickboxing is, do it. Jiu-jitsu is, do it. Find a way to make it enjoyable and make it sustainable, because you will adhere to it more than often than not.
Yeah. And then, like you say, once you get started, you'll start finding ways to implement other things. It happens with anything else, so it's not going to be any different here.
Nope. No, sir.
All right. I think we dropped enough gems for him today.
Yes, sir. Bombs. I went on a little rant and I lost my train of thought a couple times, but I was just in the heat. I was just in the heat, like working out in 100. Bro, Texas is hot.
Texas is
It's
hot.
fucking like 110, and you want me to come in here and have a conversation? It hurts. No, but we're doing better. I'm finding out I gotta make sure I'm a little bit more consistent with the topics and making sure that I don't go on rants. Boom, problem solved.
The rants are good, man. The rants work out sometimes. We're gonna tap into that other conversation that we had planned too. We'll do that in a future episode.
Sure.
But guys, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, click that notification little ding bell. So every time that we drop episodes every Wednesday at 12 o'clock, consistent like clockwork. So make sure you are tapped in. We are currently on YouTube and Spotify. When this episode comes out, we might be on a couple other streaming platforms by then, but you'll know at that time where everything's being released. Exactly. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Building Savages Podcast. Show us some love, man. Share a video, share a clip, share it to your friends, like, subscribe, notifications, all of that good stuff. And make sure you stay in tune with everything that we got coming up in the future.
Do all that shit, or I'll fucking find you. Find you. Nah,
All
bro.
right,
We
guys. Till
appreciate
next
everybody.
week, man.
Deuces. All right.